Thank you, everyone, for joining our Using Cybersecurity Frameworks as an Enterprise Architecture webinar with Avolution. Just a quick housekeeping item. If you have questions as we go through the webinar, please put them into the Q&A window, and we'll try to address as many as possible at the end of the presentation. So quick agenda is on the screen. Before I do that, let me do a quick introduction of myself and Kishan. My name is Paul Kim. I am a senior sales executive here at Avolution. Been with the organization. We're going on 5 years now. I have Kishan Patel is also on the line today. He will be the main person that will be delivering the webinar today. He is a consultant here at Avolution. He's been with the organization for going on 4 years now. Kishan is part of the pre-sales consulting team, but he also has experience working with our post-sales consulting team as well. So he's been on both sides of our organization, so he can provide some insight and knowledge on both sides of Avolution and how we do things here. So an overview of what Kishan will be reviewing today. He'll give you a bit of background on cybersecurity, and we'll spend some time explaining the NIST CSF. He'll also jump into our tool ABACUS later in the session to give you a brief demonstration and show you how we can practically apply these frameworks. Before I hand it over to Kishan, I just wanted to give you a brief background about Avolution and ABACUS in case you aren't familiar with us. We are an enterprise architecture tool company, and we have been a leading tool in the industry for the past 22 years. Today, our software suite ABACUS is being used by thousands of people all around the world. We've been reviewed by a number of independent analysis and review boards, and we're very proud to be a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant and critical capabilities. Of course, Kishan will be reviewing cybersecurity frameworks today, but I'd like to note that ABACUS supports unlimited number of frameworks and notations, including the popular ones like TOGAF, ArcMA, BPMN, NIST, just to name a few. This is absolutely one of the strengths of our tool. ABACUS itself is framework agnostic, so it does not matter from which direction you like to go. We will help you to understand the best fit regarding the framework if you're not quite sure, but I did want to highlight that as one of our strengths. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Kishan.
Thank you, Paul. All right, so what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity, of course, is going to be the practice of protecting your information assets against separate threats. So although everyone knows about the concept, there are still plenty of organizations that are falling victim. Having a cybersecurity framework is going to be an essential part of maintaining a robust cybersecurity posture and closing some of those loopholes for people to exploit. So here we can see some popular frameworks. The NIST CSF is probably going to be the most complete and contains an ever-growing vulnerability library. We have the PCI DSS for industries with payment card data. And there's going to be CIS, which contains 18 mitigation strategies, and it'll have numerous security controls that you should apply. And then you have the ISO standards, so if you're looking to achieve your certification. And then we also have things like COBIT, which is more of an enterprise architecture-centered framework, but it's focusing on risks and their impacts. So as you can see here, a few of these are actually governmentally driven. And here on the next slide, we can see why. So government organizations are being increasingly targeted by sophisticated cyber threats. So as we can see from the graph here, government agencies are facing a concerning trend here of increasing cyber threats. The graph here can highlight the rise of those sophisticated cyber attacks targeting government entities, and it's emphasizing the critical importance of robust cybersecurity measures to safeguard the sensitive information and protect critical infrastructure. So here we can see how the NIST CSF came to be. In 2013, President Obama signed the executive order improving critical infrastructure cybersecurity, tasking NIST to create a cybersecurity framework based off of voluntary consensus standards and industry best practices. And in 2021, Biden signed further executive orders for critical infrastructure companies to work with the US to implement these cybersecurity goals and standards. So in summary, NIST CSF is a comprehensive framework developed by the NIST with the aim of helping organizations effectively manage and improve their cybersecurity posture. So the primary objective of the NIST CSF is to provide organizations with a structured set of guidelines, standards, and best practices that empower them to better understand, manage, and mitigate those cybersecurity risks. So it'll serve as a roadmap for organizations to assess and strengthen their cybersecurity capabilities and ensure they're well prepared to defend against the evolving threat landscape. So at its core, NIST CSF is designed to enhance an organization's resilience against cyber threats. By adopting the framework's principles and implementing the recommendations, organizations can fortify their defenses, protect critical assets, and respond proactively to those potential cyber threats. NIST CSF emphasizes the importance of having a proactive risk management approach, encouraging organizations to stay ahead of those threats rather than just reacting to them. So you can promote a culture of risk awareness and continuous improvement. And NIST CSF will empower organizations to stay vigilant, adapt to those threats, and foster a strong cybersecurity culture. So in summary, the NIST CSF is going to be an invaluable resource that equips organizations with the knowledge and tools they need to navigate the cybersecurity landscape. So it'll give you a structured framework for building that robust cybersecurity strategy, safeguarding those critical assets, and establishing a strong defense. So as we delve further into the details of the NIST CSF, we'll explore how this framework aligns with enterprise architecture and the ways ABACUS enables organizations to implement and leverage its key principles effectively. So some of the benefits of a NIST CSF implementation: an enhanced cybersecurity strategy integration. So NIST enables the seamless integration of cybersecurity measures into the organization's overall business strategy. So by aligning those cybersecurity objectives with broader business goals, you can create a cohesive and comprehensive cybersecurity strategy that resonates with the organization's mission and vision. So an improved risk management approach. By mapping security controls within the EA framework, organizations gain a better understanding of their cybersecurity posture, identifying those potential vulnerabilities, and strategically prioritizing those cybersecurity initiatives based on their overall risk landscape. Optimized resource allocation. So the alignment of NIST CSF with enterprise architecture streamlines your resource allocation for those cybersecurity initiatives. So by leveraging EA's insights, you can allocate your resources efficiently and make sure that those cybersecurity investments are in line with your priorities, risk exposure, and budgetary constraints. And agility and adaptability. So alignment between the NIST CSF and enterprise architecture enables agility and adaptability in the face of those cyber threats. So government organizations can proactively respond to emerging risks, quickly adapt their cybersecurity posture, and implement necessary changes to stay resilient in the ever-changing threat landscape. And synergistic collaboration. So the collaboration between NIST CSF and enterprise architecture fosters synergies between cybersecurity and business teams. By breaking down those silos and encouraging cross-functional collaboration, organizations can build a robust cybersecurity culture that aligns with the organization's core values and missions, and ultimately strengthening your overall security posture. So setting the framework is one question. Getting the data necessary to conduct your analysis is going to be another hurdle entirely. ABACUS can use out-of-the-box syncs and APIs to connect to whatever CMDBs or external tools you have to retrieve the data needed for your cybersecurity risk assessment. We can schedule these integrations to these tools to create a live, up-to-date repository of all of your technology assets. We can then use surveys to gather information around these different artifacts and conduct security risk assessments. So here you can see we can conduct surveys and gather details on technology usage, risks, requirements, and then we can take all of these different metrics to create security risk scores. So ABACUS's no-code visual algorithm makes it easy to go and take any sort of survey you need and use those survey results to create your own custom metrics and KPIs. The key here is by using these surveys and these integrations, we want this data to become a shared asset rather than becoming overhead for the EA team or cybersecurity team. So cybersecurity frameworks are not going to be used in a silo though. Using ABACUS's flexible meta model, we can align the NIST CSF or any other cybersecurity framework with how you are conducting your enterprise architecture. So here you can see an example. You can see we're applying the NIST CSF in the information system, technology, and opportunities and solution phases of the TOGAF ADM. So we're applying the cybersecurity frameworks to our information systems and technologies, and then looking for those opportunities and solutions via our risk analysis. Okay. So now I'll be flipping over to ABACUS for a live demonstration. As I flip through here, you'll notice I'm going to be flipping between ABACUS Enterprise and ABACUS Studio. So ABACUS Studio is going to be the heavy lifting portion of our tool. So this is going to be where your enterprise architects or your security architects might be living. And this is going to be where we set up all of those different viewpoints and things for people to go and view our data, as well as setting up all of those data integrations and things like that. And then over here on ABACUS Enterprise is going to be where we show off that data. So we'll be able to create any sort of dynamic dashboard around any use case that we need here, and actually create a place for people to not just view that data, but edit and maintain that data as well. So going back to NIST, if you choose the NIST framework, you'll first have to align your organization to the framework core. The framework core consists of 5 functions, which are the 5 basic cybersecurity functions at the highest level. These 5 functions are identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And then these functions are further divided into categories, which are further divided into subcategories. So categories are going to be those groups of cybersecurity outcomes tied to programmatic needs and particular activities, such as asset management and supply chain risk management. And then the subcategories are going to be the specific outcomes of technical or management activities. So in order to assess how our organization is meeting cybersecurity measures, according to NIST, we need to create something called a profile. A profile is going to be the alignment of functions, categories, and subcategories with the business requirements and objectives of the organization. So profiles are described to use the current state or desired target state of those cybersecurity activities. So here we can see each of the subcategories mapped to certain cybersecurity objectives that we have for our organization. And then we can use implementation tiers to assess how our organization views risk in our current profile. And then we can outline where the organization needs to be in the target profile. So the current profile here is going to indicate the cybersecurity outcomes that are currently being achieved. And the target profile will indicate the outcomes needed to achieve the desired cybersecurity risk management goals. So here we can see how this fits into TOGAF. So those cybersecurity objectives that we created are going to be a part of the overall mission objectives in the TOGAF standard. So you can see we're aligning those cybersecurity categories and subcategories with those objectives that we have in the TOGAF standard. And then once we implement those NIST subcategories, we'll have the opportunity to choose a more specific kind of framework or standard depending on the controls that we're trying to implement. So if we choose to implement NIST 853, for example, we'll be aligning our technology, or we'll be aligning our applications here with those specific controls and vulnerabilities from the NIST 853 standard. So going back to our current profile, those implementation tiers are going to provide context on how an organization views cybersecurity risk and the processes in place to manage that risk. So starting with tier 1, which is partial, meaning that cybersecurity practices are not formalized and there's limited awareness at an organization level, to tier 4, which is adaptive, meaning that the organization adapts its cybersecurity practices based on previous and current cybersecurity activities. And there's an organization-wide approach to managing cybersecurity risk that uses risk-informed policies, processes, and procedures to address those potential cybersecurity events. So we can also use that NIST 853 standard to further align our enterprise architecture to the NIST CSF. Here you can see we've taken all of our security controls, aligned them to the proper security category, and established which baseline is a part of. So once we've established a baseline of controls, we can categorize our controls. So here you can see we've taken those physical application components and aligned them with the security controls relevant to them. And then we've assigned that security categorization. Once we've scored all of our different priorities, we'll be able to do that gap analysis between our current profile and our target profile. So here we can see some statistics comparing our baseline security score and target security score, allowing us to track our progress as we implement these different cybersecurity measures. We can also individually track those security gaps in our individual mission objectives. For example, here we can see that our missions with the largest gaps are going to be requiring audits and maintaining operational security, allowing us to rearrange our resources to mitigate the associated risks more. We can also do analysis on our organization through the lens of these implementation tiers. So here we can see most of our baseline is aligned with tier 2 and tier 3. But we can see that a large amount is still in that partial tier. So we can drill down into those different categories and look at those specific subcategories and see where we need to take those next steps. So here you can see a dashboard that we've created that shows the risk scores that we've established across our application portfolio. So we're able to go and filter down and automatically drill into those high risk and high vulnerability applications. And then once we do that, we'll be able to drill down and see which business capabilities are dependent on it, which will allow us to see that business impact. We can go downstream and see which servers and databases it depends on, which will allow us to see the technology impact. So understanding the impact in our overall EA landscape is going to be critical in managing that transformation effectively. Not understanding the different dependencies in your architecture can lead to a snowball effect when that risk scenario comes to life. So now we can flip over to ABACUS Studio and see how some of those different artifacts came to life here. So here you can see we've built out all of those different artifacts that we need to conduct our analysis. We can build our different profiles and do our categorization mapping and create that structure here on the studio side, while people can still go and edit and maintain that from the enterprise side. We'll be able to create that structure here to ensure people are following those rules that we've set forth in the NIST CSF. And then we'll be able to further apply any NIST standards or controls that we need here. So you can see here we've imported the NIST 835 standard, and we can do all of the controls mappings and categorization here. And then in ABACUS, we'll be able to go and automatically apply that analysis that we need across our architecture as well. So here you can see we've gone and created some different visual algorithms around managing the different security scores and creating those different gap metrics and things like that. And we've done that with the visual algorithm composer. So you can see we're doing this without any code. We're just able to go and drag and drop those different attributes and properties and create whatever analysis we need across our project. All right. So thanks everyone for attending. So now we'll go through a Q&A session.
Thank you, Keyshawn, for the great presentation. We do have a couple of questions in the chat, but before I get to them, I would like to give people a little bit more time to submit any questions they have into the Q&A window now. I also like to call out another webinar we have coming up in the meantime. Next Thursday, March 7th, we are co-hosting a webinar with the Open Group all about business capability maps. Please join us for that webinar to understand how capability maps can be used to understand the strengths of your business as well as some capability mapping techniques. So let's go ahead and get to the questions that we have. There are 4 of them. First question, Keyshawn, now that NIST 2.0 is out of draft, when will this be updated to include the new subcategories and the governed core?
Yeah, great question. So I can't give a certain date when that's going to be getting released, but that is going to be getting released very shortly. Yeah, so we're going to be adding that governed tier to the NIST CSF, so people will be able to go and manage the data governance around these different cybersecurity initiatives.
Great. Typically, that when we release new updates, it's usually within a couple months. Is that correct, Keyshawn?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Next question. Do you support ISO 27001?
Yes, absolutely. We support ISO 27001. So yeah, you'll be able to go and import all of those specific ISO standards and things and connect them to the specific applications and capabilities that you'll be addressing with those.
Okay. Can I import my organization's specific security compliances into your tool?
Yes, absolutely. So ABACUS allows integration with a lot of different tools here to bring those compliances in. So we'll be able to import those with Excel or Visio if that's where some of those different things exist. We also have an out-of-the-box REST API. So if those compliances are being held somewhere else and we want to create a third-party integration there to have that updated automatically, we'll be able to do that as well. So you'll be able to go and import those into the tool. We'll have the flexible meta model to go and be able to model that how we need, model that around our data. So yeah, we'll absolutely be able to bring those specific compliances in.
Okay. And the last question, how can ABACUS assist in third-party assessments of information security controls?
Yeah, great question. So ABACUS allows you to put all of your enterprise architecture and cybersecurity artifacts into these different dashboards, which will allow any third-party assessors to come in and view all of those different cybersecurity controls that we've established, view our current profile, and be able to do that analysis, right? So we can go and allow people access to these different dashboards to go and view our cybersecurity posture and help with that risk assessment.
Perfect. So those are all the questions that we have today. If you do have any additional ones, please put them in now and we'll try to get to them. But if there aren't any additional questions, we'd like to thank you for joining us here for this webinar. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Keyshawn. Our emails are in this presentation and you will be receiving a copy of a recording of this webinar as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We look forward to speaking with each and every one of you if you would like to speak. And once again, thank you for the time today and hope you join us for the next webinar on March 7th.